I used to come back here to Washington in a circle with nothing but white people, and I'd be introduced as Ambassador to Liberia, and none of them would ever hear that because they would turn to me and ask me, how do you like our country? Talking about America. Fact of the matter was, they could never conceive that a black man could ever be an ambassador.
As you just heard, diplomacy in America was once a very segregated job. A new documentary airs tomorrow night on PBS that features 3 pioneering black ambassadors: Edward Dudley, Terrence Todman, and Carl Rowan.
It's called The American Diplomat, and each of them pushed past historical and institutional racial barriers to reach high-ranking appointments in the Truman, Eisenhower, and Kennedy administrations. They did so at the height of the civil rights movement, and we spoke with one of the filmmakers and also the son of one of the diplomats. Thank you so much both for joining us today. Let's first talk about The American Diplomat that is premiering here. Leola, we know that this has been a big project for you. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, The American Diplomat tells the story of 3 black diplomats: Edward R. Dudley, Terrence Todman, and Carl Rowan. They represented the United States overseas at the height of the civil rights movement and the early Cold War period. And the story really tells, the film really tells the story of their efforts to push past these historical and institutional racial barriers at the State Department at a time when the State Department really maintained a very elitist character. And so the film takes a personal look at their experiences, and I think also offers a window into the world of diplomacy from the perspective of black diplomats.
And Edward, your dad is one of the ambassadors that is featured, Ambassador Dudley. As an adult now, when you look back, what was that like? Did you know that he was this important person? And how do you think that these 3 men and the way that this movie is showing changed the perception?
Yeah, well, as a child, he was just dad. You know, I was happy when he took me to the tennis courts. And later in life, I played bridge with him a lot. We were both good at bridge. So really, unfortunately, it wasn't until after his death that I really began to look through his things and realize what an incredible person he was, as well as the other 2 ambassadors featured. And I think what's significant about all 3 of them is they all knew that they were equal. In other words, equal to whites, when there was a lot of doubt in the world at the time that blacks were. And they would not have anything any other way. And I'm very pleased with the way Leola did the story. She listened to the important things that I wanted to bring out, and also her husband is a diplomat, right. So she's the perfect person to bring this story.
I was just going to ask you about that, Leola. I'm sure that this obviously came from a unique perspective from yourself of being married to a black diplomat as well.
Yeah, I mean, the idea for the story really came about as a convergence of things. I mean, a large part was my own personal experience in the Foreign Service as part of a Foreign Service family. I mean, my husband and I have been in this world for about 20 years now. And, you know, we were often one of the few, if only, black families at post when we go overseas. And so you start to, you know, want to understand why that's so. You know, my husband would also, you know, meet these incredible black diplomats who had come in, you know, 50 years before, or had these long careers in the Foreign Service, and would tell these incredible stories of how their careers developed. And he thought, you know, these are stories that nobody's really talking about. And he, you know, gave me a book called Black Diplomacy by Michael Kren. And those things together really kind of formed a jumping off point to dive into the history, to dig deeper, to read more, to, you know, I found out about these great oral histories. And so I brought the idea to my partners at Flow State Films, and my producing partners, Rochelle Shapiro and Kylie Kriskauskas, loved the idea as well. And so we decided to start developing this film, and that was like 6 years ago. So it's been a long road.
Well, I
Long
love
time coming.
first that it's ladies at this production company, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations, I love that. But I want to hear from both of you real quick before we go. Leola, I'll start with you. What do you hope that others will learn, especially the younger audience, by watching The American Diplomat?
Well, I think diplomacy is such a misunderstood or like not very well known career or job. And so I want to open that world up to younger audiences. I especially want younger audiences of color, Black youth, to look at this film and see that these were people that were making space for us in this world of diplomacy, that we too can add our voices to how our country is represented overseas, and to learn about these trailblazers who created these paths and possibilities for us.
And Edward, what about you? What do you hope that people will learn from this?
Well, there are hundreds of very unbelievable Blacks that have contributed to America. And my father is definitely one of them that people don't know about. And I just wanted his story to be told.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you both for coming on, for sharing your message today. We look forward to seeing it.
I hope you enjoy
very
it.
much.
Thank you.
You can watch The American Diplomat tomorrow on your local PBS station.
Or you can stream anytime at pbs.org. Such incredible stories.
Absolutely.